right. Welcome to another podcast, another HEF podcast, the podcast of the Home Education Foundation. Here I am getting caught slow on a day where I need to be going fast because we've got to get to the Capitol today. It's going to be very exciting. Let's go ahead and do a quick version of our dive in. The HEF podcast is the podcast of the Home Education Foundation, which is an organization that was started by the beloved Brenda Dickinson back in the early 1990s, just after securing a victory for home education families, parents to have the right in law spelled out in statute to teach their own children, set their own standards and values as they see fit. We recognize that the children belong to the parents, not the state, not the common good, not society, but in fact, the parents that they were born to. It is their job and duty to raise them, and that we do not need any interference or assistance from outside entities. We definitely don't want any standards from outside entities. We want to raise our children ourselves. And that being the direction of the Home Education Foundation, that was what Brenda fought to get put into statute. And she did. And we're so thankful for her. We're thankful for parents in the free state of Florida who do that. They exercise that right, and they support the work that we do here at the Home Education Foundation and our nonprofit, HEF Connect, Inc. And we're very thankful for you. We're also thankful for our top sponsors, Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group. Time does not permit today for me to go into any details. However, we're very thankful for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. It is just me, my ugly mug. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance, but you're just going to have to deal with it. I have to get to the Capitol today because we're very excited. Senate Bill 538, as you know, if you know and you've been following, it is the extracurricular bill, and it is up for being heard today in the House. The Senate bill is up for being heard in the House. So it's been sent over in messages, and there it sat in messages, but today it will be picked up. The House bill is different than the Senate bill. So they're going to have to move those bills together, and the way they're likely to do that is to delete everything in the Senate bill and then pick it up. They could substitute the House bill in for it and then send the House bill over. Either way, it will have to venture back to the Senate because it has changes. So once it gets to the House will take a look at it, make their amendments to the situation, either bill, and then they'll get it on back over to the Senate to put the final stamp of approval. We are hopeful. We've been in communication with both parties. We are hopeful that the amendments and the changes go right on through and that it will be smooth sailing. We're hoping that it's just one more of those bills that's flying right on through and it's not one that gets caught up in the system, but we're going to see. We're going to cross our fingers and see. So I'll be headed straight up to the Capitol as soon as we cut from the air today. Senate bill, if you don't know, I'll do a quick recap. Senate Bill 538 and HB 731. So in the Senate, Senator Corey Simon is running 538, and in the House, Representative Abbott is running House Bill 731. Together, they rewrite the Florida Statute 1006.15. It's the landmark Craig Dickinson Act. Yes, it is named after Brenda Dickinson's belated husband, who passed in the 90s just after creating the Home Education Foundation alongside Brenda. And for the work that he did, they decided to name it after him. So this is something very interesting to us. We want to keep eyes on this and keep it alive for many, many reasons. It governs the extracurricular participation for non-traditional students as well as traditional students. The primary objective of this legislation overhaul is to create a uniform, fluid process for participation while ensuring that home education families, as taxpayers and stakeholders, maintain equal access to publicly funded programs. Critically, the bill preserves the unique legal protections for home education, for a home education program, according to statutes 1002.41, by requiring school districts to agree upon evaluation methods with the parent. thereby preventing the imposition of public school academic standards on home educators. That was almost something that went missing. Additionally, the legislation clarifies the distinction between the home education students and this legislation doesn't actually do that. Sorry, I was reading a different note. Oh, wait, no, it does. It clarifies the distinction between home education students and PEP students in regards to the fees that would be assessed, while including a lock-in provision to prevent school hopping. So to address those separately, home education students who are registered as home education, according to 1002.41, with their home education program, are registered with the county. So they are not assessed any additional fees beyond what the students that are already enrolled in the public school would be assessed. If the school board decides to assess fees, additional fees, to the students enrolled in the public school, then they could assess fees to home education students. But they can't separately target home education students who are already enrolled with the county as taxpayers in that county and in that school program. However, PEP students are registered with the scholarship funding organization, not the county, and their funds go directly to the scholarship funding organization and to the parent to spend at their discretion, and so they can assess fees to those students if they decide at their discretion to participate in school sports. Also, the issue of school hopping had popped up because students in this section of law were allowed to participate in sport at a school, and if they did that, they were locked into that sport by law. So what they would do is they would leave the public school, go into home education, go play at the other school that they wanted to play at, and then they would leave home education and go back to the school that they were taking classes at because they couldn't transfer to that school. So this kind of hopping mechanism is dealt with in two different ways. The other version of school hopping was that students would play one sport at one school and then play another sport at another school and then play another sport at another school, and it would create a lot of discontinuity, a lack of continuity in their education program. So they saw fit to kind of rein that in, and we worked with them to prevent them from removing rights in that process. And where we landed was something very good, I believe. They have targeted immediate eligibility. That was one of the things that we suggested that they look at heavily, was rather than taking away a parent's right to choose a school, just take away the immediate eligibility for when they're switching around so they can seek to be immediately eligible. They aren't necessarily inherently granted it. There is a process for that. So, and then also when it comes to the school hopping, now with this bill, new language in this bill, when they play a sport at a school, they will be locked into all sports at that school for the remainder of the school year. So it doesn't state it this way, but it kind of creates a school of record. So once you start playing sports at that school, that's the school you're playing sports at that year. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's a solid change. You can still have the choice, the freedom of that choice. It's just, you pick the school and then you're there. You can still pick the school in the district. So one of the things that they wanted to do early on was carve it back to where they could only just play at their zone school. We just take away all the choice, play at their zone school. We fought against that pretty hard, and eventually they listened to us. And I think they listened to a lot of other stakeholders too, not just us, but we were definitely there fighting to protect parents' rights to choose the school, just not hopping around to all the different schools all the time. So anyway, if you've been navigating the world of Florida homeschool sports, then you would know the Craig Dickinson Act has kind of been our North Star for about 30 years now. And we're writing preparing a deep dive so that once this bill goes live, we'll hop on. You'll be able to check the deep dive, and it'll have all of the things in it that have changed. There will be an FAQ in there to give you the quick version, as well as kind of the long form version of what happens in the bill, what the language does, what it changes. So you'll have, for those who want to know the whole thing, you'll have that. And for those who just want the quick answer, can my kid play sports? You'll have that. As I was preparing it today, I also remembered our beloved homeschoolers who homeschool through a private school, which by Florida definition is technically private schooling. However, in this rewrite of the statute, being treated as private schoolers, they'll be lumped into the same kind of language, so they'll actually also be able to play at any school in the district, so long as the school that they're at, the private school that they're at, doesn't offer the sport. So that's a significant shift, actually, for umbrella school students, which we're looking forward to. You guys will be able to show up and go play high school sports at public schools as well, if you so choose. And so there's some really awesome opportunities in this that did not necessarily exist before. Uniformity can sometimes sound like a buzzword. It's a switch for standardization. We worked very hard to ensure that this doesn't mean losing our unique identity as homeschoolers or home education families. And we worked very, very hard to fight for parental authority as this bill went through its different versions. So we do look at this bill as a win overall, and we're looking forward to seeing it passed. As a side note, this has kind of dominated the topic of conversation for a bit. There is conversations regarding the scholarship keep reemerging. So Senate Bill 318, as you all know, we've been following it, it's dead. It died a while back, and with no movement. And where the Senate and the House are situated currently, it does not look like they're going to come to agreements on the budget. And so they'll probably gavel out. This is projection, so this could also change. And if they suddenly magically come to terms and an agreement, I don't know that that's likely, but it could be possible. They could pull some all-nighters, and we could see some movement here. If that doesn't happen, they're likely to gavel out and then reconvene a special session after this that would go on. And word on the street is that they would like to maybe gavel out for 2 weeks, avoid all of the rigmarole of spring break and all of that, and then kind of reconvene. So we'll see where we land. We could be looking at another, say, April to June special session. In order to get over the finish line for that. That may give a lot of you comfort knowing that the things that were proposed in the Senate bill, the breaking it into 10 payments and the monthly attestations and all of these different things have kind of fallen off with the Senate bill because the House hasn't agreed to them. Do not let that give you a false sense of security. I can't tell you who, and I can't tell you why, but I can tell you that the scholarships are under fire in the background. They are being targeted, and they are likely to see regulation, and they are likely to see chipbacks. And we need to be careful and we need to be watchful. It's more important now than ever that the home education community decide to find its voice of unity. And I believe that if we hold up a banner, that banner should be that the children are ours and they're ours to raise, and that parental authority should reign supreme, and that regulation should be pushed back at every turn. If they have decided to give parents the money, then they should back off and trust parents to spend the money. And if they decide to regulate it before they even see any of the ways that the tests or things like that come, then it would be prejudicial, meaning they have made a judgment about the program simply as a reaction to what the media does, rather than waiting to see if what these crazy parents spend the money on works. Because, hey, wouldn't it be interesting if these crazy things the parents are spending the money on actually pulls bigger numbers, pulls better records? Wouldn't that be wild? So we'll have to wait and see what happens. We will be keeping an eye on this. It is very important that we stop nitpicking each other. We may agree that the scholarship should or shouldn't be spent this way, or we may not agree, that it should or shouldn't be spent this way. We may not agree that someone should even take it or not. But the reality is, it is currently a part of our reality in Florida. And so we do have to deal and entangle with that way. That legislature did not create a tax credit back to parents who home educate and give them money back, since they're paying their taxes but then not levying the system. are leveraging the system. And that's the situation that we're in. So they could have gone different ways, but they didn't. The situation that we're in now is the one that we're in now. We have to fight now where the battle line is. And we still need to be a voice of reasoning and reckoning that the children are ours. And don't public school my homeschool. You know, maybe a great phrase to revive or bring alive, because the shift in all of the regulations and adjustments is, oh, here's the standards and here are the standards, bring these standards in. And as home education families, we set the standards for our kids. We raise them the way that we want to. If it becomes onerous, I'm out. I'll just be honest with you right now. And I would encourage others to flex their freedom and do the same if it becomes onerous. So while the Senate bill and all of the things that we were scared of didn't necessarily make it, it's not a cause for celebration. We're not out of the woods. They will be back. The adjustments will be back, and they may be worse. They may come back with the equipment that we saw on extracurricular equipment and cut back all of those expenses. They're looking at the program, and they're trying to see what they think needs to be addressed. And I think we're probably not going to agree with them, whatever it is that they think. So we need to be ready to have a unifying voice and to speak out of what it is that we do in home education, how we do it, what our standards are, not theirs, but ours, and that the funding should go to the parent to choose how they feel best fits the education that they are customizing for their child. The legislature is constantly talking about how public school students do so much better when the education can be customized to them. And then when a parent goes and customizes the education to their child in a way that doesn't look like public school and gets a better result, they somehow go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why are you doing that? We do things that work. We adapt. We find things that work. And we pivot. We pivot quickly because we don't have to wait on all of your approval because we're the parents. And then you've placed money in our hands to do that. So you can entrust us or take it back. All right. Anyway, I'm going to get up to the Capitol because that's where I have to be. And I think that I wish you all a good Monday. And thank you for those who are watching. Thank you for being with us. Those who support, we are very much appreciative of you. We will get the deep dive out as soon as we see exactly how the bill language is going to land in its absolute final form. We'll go ahead and make that deep dive go live, and you guys will have the quick version, the FAQ, and the deep dive, and anything that a parent will need to know that's going to be changing about sports or extracurricular activities and participation in those at public schools for home education students and umbrella students and PEP students, etc. So with that, I wish you well. We'll say thank you again to the parents of the free state of Florida for your support. Also, thank you, Brenda, for everything that you've always done. I know that you're still there. You texted me that you would be on here, and I'm so appreciative that you're still there and mentoring and walking alongside this. Parents need to know that after all these years, and even after retirement, you are still in their corner, and we're so grateful for you. Also, thank you to our top sponsors, Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group. And with that, I wish you all a great Monday, and I'm getting to the Capitol.